You are now going to see this process dynamically. Rain raised from nothing, engineered while you watch. Here we go, east of Hawaii, heading toward the mainland. The barrier in front of you is being engineered. It is a product of geometry and velocity. Denser and denser it gets, and things like this can now be done with a light aircraft. We do not need a 30,000-ton ship. It's a new method, but it's the same old rain. Hello. My name is Trevor James Constable. I'm the engineer that staged and carried out the rain engineering experiment that you just saw. Engineering rain off a clear horizon right over a speeding ship. That's something I've done literally hundreds of times. But always I dreamed of doing the same thing from an aircraft. Trouble was, the apparatus that we were using at sea was a little too big. Much too big for use on an aircraft. When we got the size down and the power up, then we had a translator with which we could go airborne. So you see, ladies and gentlemen, we are involved here in something that is intensely realistic. We utilize hardware, things like aircraft, things that are right down in the real physical world. There's nothing ghostly about any of this. Let's go now to the island of Oahu in Hawaii and involve ourselves directly in a real-world operation of a completely new kind, an airborne etheric rain engineering operation. Let's go. This is the Hawaiian Island Group in the Central Pacific. Our base is on the island of Oahu, illuminated for us here by our laser dot. And this is Oahu, close up. For orientation, there is the city of Honolulu. Just immediately northwest of it is Pearl Harbor. And in the far northwest is Dillingham Field, the site of our operations base. The chief topographical feature of the island of Oahu is the Ko'uaula Range, a rocky spine. The Waianae Range skirts Dillingham Field, where we are based. The operational program is a simple one. The aircraft takes off from Dillingham Field on an easterly course, flies for 20 minutes at 70 miles an hour, then turns and goes back to its base. That is the extent of the aircraft's involvement. All right, that's the operational procedure. Nothing too difficult about that. The question is, how is it that a single small airplane with a single small piece of hardware aboard can generate rain under such circumstances? How is it possible? The reason that this works is that the translator on the aircraft accesses not the air, the atmosphere, but the ether. It accesses the ether and it pushes it backwards. Now, since the ether is invisible and basically intangible, in order to get an idea of how this works, we are going to have to use some transparent plastic like this to simulate the ether in the sketch we're going to give you now, so that you'll understand how this is done, what the process actually does bring about in the real world. Here we go. There is the ether coming from east to west, right across Oahu and right around the Earth in tropical latitudes. Irresistible, invisible, eternal. The airplane enters the format at Dillingham Field with translators so designed that they interrupt and push backwards locally this flow of etheric force in the fashion depicted. The aeroplane leaves the format and it leaves behind an accretion of etheric force right there, which draws to itself enormous masses of water vapor from the atmosphere. With the aircraft gone, this mass of water vapor, rain, moves over Oahu, and you have engineered rain on the island. Well, that's enough theorizing. Let's go right out now into the real world, but before we do, let's get a solid, objective weather forecast for the day from Honolulu TV. And they're going to tell us that picnic weather is going to prevail over Oahu. Here it is. That's what I call picnic weather.
Have some clear skies for you this week. That's nice to see after looking at last week's forecast. Let's get a close look at this. Our surf is pretty much getting nothing. It's 2 to 4 in the north. That's your highest surf points. Also the east 2 to 4. You look around, there's nothing to do. There's not even a high surf advisory. There's no gale warnings, nothing happening. And if you want to probably go snorkeling or just wind sailing, something mild, the picnic, that's where you go to the beach. And the weather's a good forecast for a picnic as well. As you see, a mostly sunny day. And our temperatures will be comfy in the mid-80s. Southeasterly winds 5 to 15 miles per hour.
There he goes, takeoff at 1:15 p.m., flying directly to the east. By 1:52, the pilot is back and coming in for debriefing. His excited report is of rain. Rain in several places, and it is something that has plainly been a source of some delight and joy for him. Heavy rain east of the airfield indicates that we really need a bird's eye view of the whole scenario here. Now, the best way to get a bird's eye view of what's happening here is to act like a bird. Get aboard a sailplane. Let's do it. Get a couple of thousand feet up in the air, you have some perspective on a very large-scale operation. This will affect 50 or 60 square miles, and there you see it, down towards central Oahu. No doubt about that. As we swing into our turn, we can see all the way down into central Oahu, and it's raining like crazy there. As we go back towards the west, in the direction opposite to which the rain is coming, we see that the beautiful day is fast disappearing under this canopy of cloud. From 3,000 feet, we get a very good idea of the blanket of rain that is now engulfing central Oahu. The Waianae Range is also being covered here. You cannot get this kind of documentation from the ground. No possibility. Approximately 60 to 70 square miles will be involved in the major part of this deluge. From 3,000 feet we are ourselves in rain, but we are looking over a great carpet of it covering the target area. Real stuff. East. Yeah, okay, that's fine, Bill. Our pilot is complaining that it's getting a little bit rough, a little bit wild, so we're going to have to cut this off quite quickly. Another last glimpse of central Oahu, barely visible now under the blanket of rain. We are in rain ourselves up here at 3,000 feet, and we're about to descend. This was brought about by a single 22-minute pass to the east with the aeroplane. I won't charge you for the wash, Bill. So we definitely are in rain up here now. Remember today's television weather forecast? Picnic weather. Well, rain came down at the rate of an inch an hour for about 2.5 hours in central Oahu this afternoon and led to a small stream and flash flood advisory. So they did indeed have picnic weather in central Oahu, but it was a different kind of a picnic.
Small stream flood advisory is now in effect for central Oahu from Wahiawa all the way up to Haleiwa. There we go. And here's the shower area right here under that flood advisory. It is in effect until 8 o'clock tonight. It looks like most of that moisture will end after sunset. But the moisture that Oahu is seeing right now, I'll show you here on our satellite loop, which represents 12 hours. You can see the little plumes develop there. Here's the moisture that's...
Now put the finger right on us. There it is. See it? How nice. There she goes. There we are. Beautiful stuff.
The past few hours, it's been raining so hard that the smaller streams are at the point of almost overflowing. But once again, it looks like the showers will end.
It has been very, very wet this afternoon. In fact, the National Weather Service has issued a urban and small stream flood advisory. That's for the areas from about Wahiawa up to Haleiwa. Heavy showers have been coming down here. It's convective activity. Things are a little unstable out there. So when things heated up, that set off a series of fairly good showers out here, mainly in the Po'omoho and Haleiwa area, and the urban and small stream is in effect until 8 o'clock tonight. Could be some ponding in roads out there, make driving a bit treacherous, so be careful.
That's how it's done on the fringe of the tropics in Hawaii. Down in Equatoria, in places like Malaysia, the Philippines, and Indonesia, these methods work with much greater effectiveness and with much greater power. As part of our exploration of these things, we mounted some operations in October of 1997 at Segamat in central part of Malaysia. Let's take a look at that. Takeoff time is 2:31 p.m. on the 14th of October 1997 from Segamat Airstrip. The airstrip is at the Country Club. The intention is to run 2 successive 15-minute thrusts to the east. That is the operational program for today. No rain is forecast and the region is in a long dry spell. Things deteriorate very quickly. The weather reacts strongly. The second flight of the pair had to be very sharply abbreviated because of the deterioration of conditions. And so here is the airplane down on the field at the conclusion of the second pass, one that was curtailed and limited to 10 minutes or less. 4:43. The black stuff is over the field here, and a little bit to the south of east, it's accreting fast. They came back early because just too rough out there, too threatening, and we'll have a word here in a moment with Balaratnam, Captain Balaratnam, the pilot, and he'll give us...
large build-up over there.
Yeah.
Over there, and there's one more which is coming down from the south, which is right now building about 15 miles away. And she's coming in fast because we are having prevailing winds coming in from this direction.
Yeah.
So she will be along here quite soon, and the build-up over here will be here approximately in about 8 minutes time. So we can see both masses joining together and giving us a
bath.
heavy downpour.
Good. Thank you, Bala.
No problem, sir. Anytime.
O'clock on the night of the 14th of October. We're looking out now from the hotel from the 7th floor of the Villa Hotel in Sagamat. And this entire area is now being enveloped in rain, thunder and lightning. This is the consequence of the operation today. And we'll go down to street level and let you see this happening. Outside the main drag, it's a wet night, courtesy of the men from Singapore. This heavy rain persisted through until 2 a.m. the next morning and laid down over 2 inches of rain throughout the Sagamat region and for about 60 square kilometers to the north. Our pilot in Malaysia is a Singaporean named Captain Balaratnam. He is of Indian descent, and he was trained as a pilot in the United States. When we first attached this hollow tube, this empty tube with no electrical connections and no chemicals, to the wing strut of his Skyhawk, I saw him smirking a little. After he had flown 10 or 12 of these weather engineering missions and had made his share of the world's rain, he had different ideas. I was able to capture some of his comments on videotape. Here is Captain Balaratnam. Type of operation just a few weeks ago, and like a normal person, you no doubt had your skepticism about the whole thing. Is that correct?
Very true. Never thought it would work. Never did. And because basically there was what I know about cloud seeding and causing rain. Basically use some kind of chemicals, smoke, something to make the cloud more dense so that it will basically rain. And having 2 tubes in my airplane wasn't much of a, how shall I say, it wasn't really acceptable. It doesn't seem workable, I'll put it that manner.
I see. And what's your view now after several weeks doing this?
Dangerous thing. Never have the tubes on your wings. The results have fascinated me to a very great extent. Never did I expect flying on clear days to have experienced such turbulent weather within such a short period of time and it appearing without any notice whatsoever.
Yeah, I see. Now you have an FAA license. You were trained in the States, right?
Yes, I was, and I hold a commercial multi-engine instrument rating license with an instructor on single engine and also on instrument rating.
I see.
And my license number is 2466946.
Okay. What is the thing that has occurred in these flights that has impressed you most with this new method of weather engineering?
Okay, number one, simplicity. There's nothing to be thrown out, nothing to be dispersed in the air, and it's very efficient. It's very efficient.
And you're convinced of the effects?
Yes, I am.
That comes from that comes from first hand.
Having to dodge weathers, having lightning strikes appear all of a sudden, left and right of you, yes, it's first hand.
Kuala Lumpur is the capital of Malaysia. And the Kuala Lumpur city and region was in a severe 4.5 months drought when I was called as a consultant down there in April of 1998. The first thing I did was load some of our weather guns into a sky van, a twin turboprop transport.
This aircraft is way too big for the job, but it's all we've got today. That's the way it's done with a sky van.
28 hours after I set foot in Malaysia, this was the scenario at Subang International Airport in Kuala Lumpur. In the week that followed that spectacular drought-breaking job, helicopters were put into service in this type of work for the very first time. Their use was pioneered in Malaysia in 1998. They proved themselves to be the most effective vehicle yet for engineering rain in the tropics.
This is the way the helicopter was set up. Attach the P-gun to the skids, one on each side. Worked well. The helicopter lets you get into places that you probably shouldn't go. Here we are diving around the Semenyih Dam in an attempt to fill that. We're making a lot of rain, but it doesn't seem to show up on the dipstick. A lot of downdrafts are created. These steep hills, it's more a job for Errol Flynn than for me. There you can see ponding. That's ponding in the higher reaches of the Semenyih Dam. A lot of water laid in there by this method. Coming back from the dam's raid, you can see that as we proceed west, we are laying down a carpet of rain out there, just like we were crop dusting with water. We're probably talking about 16, 17 square miles of terrain being rained there, and this happened every time we went to the dams and came back heading west. There's Kuala Lumpur under rain. And as we come into Subang Airport, everything is wet there too. whole region has become drenched. And there we are, a typical Kuala Lumpur evening, courtesy of the Singapore helicopter service. Nothing like this in months. The celebrated KL Tower in May of 1998. That's the way it was in Malaysia.
This is a brief overview of the stunning potential of airborne etheric rain engineering in Equatoria. These are techniques and a technology that is available right now. It does not matter, ladies and gentlemen, what academic people say about the ether. I prefer the driving beat of rain on the canopy of my aircraft, because in the final analysis, only results count. Only results count. Goodbye.
Yeah, that's right. I won't charge you for the wash, Bill.